So as I said, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Whoever finishes this one, so it sounds amazing, we can try to do a collaboration of it and just release it. We're gonna run this for maybe 1 month and a half or for summer.
How are you doing, guys?
Yes, you heard that right, guys. If you watch my masterclass and download the Ableton Live project from readyformasterclass.com, you have a chance to finish my record and release it together as collaboration. On top of that, you can win 500 euros worth of private lessons via Zoom together with me. So head over to readyformasterclass.com and let's do this. The deadline is end of August 2022. And now let's go back to see the Q&A from our latest masterclass on how to make trance. Ciao.
Usually, really, when I wake up in the morning and my head is clear, you know, and I don't look at the social media, I don't look at the emails or messages, whatever. I just sit down and play around with melodies. The melodies just tend to come up from just jamming, you know, and sometimes you just suddenly hit the right notes. So I tend not to approach this technically. I really just jam, you know, and you just jam around, just see what works, what doesn't. You don't have to be a professional piano player. I'm not a professional piano player. You can just, you know, just really jam, and then when you hear something that really makes you feel okay, then just go with it, and the melody should reveal itself. You know, like as a musician, you can hear like music and everything. Like I'm pretty sure you have that you're in a shower, there's noise from the shower, and you hear melodies popping up. That's like that happens to me a lot, and I know many other guys that have the same. Like when you hear the noise and it's just coming in, or you are somewhere beautiful on a beach and you're just observing the sunset, and suddenly you have that feeling like, okay, this would be a good time to write music, you know? So try to write it when you feel good, you know, or when you feel sad. That works. Yeah, and then you can write a good melody in a few seconds, you know? Or when you have a phone, just hum it inside your phone when you feel it, you know? Many tracks I did this way, that I just heard a melody, I hum it in my phone, then I put it in Ableton, and that was done. I'm not sure if there are any like best keys, but you can always transpose it, you know? So imagine that, transpose it. You start with a C, as you said, and you know that the bass line sounds better in F, then transpose the whole thing down to F, you know? Then it's gonna be easy. But for uplifting trance, I like to work with A minor, F Lydian, then D Dorian, which is basically D and all the white keys. F Lydian is F and all the white keys. And then you have A minor. And I don't really do much in major, but I did some tracks in major. For example, Dash Berlin is all in major. And those are supposed to be happy chords. But if you know what you're doing, you can make a really, really sad melody with happy chords. So you can experiment. And why I'm using all the white keys all the time in these scales, because it's easy, you know, and I have this motto that easy does it. But it really depends. I used to go overboard in the past, and I used like 12. Then I started to use like 14 on one remix for Armin. But now I'm just tending to just do like maximum 4. Sometimes I just use 2, because I learned that it's much easier just to work with saturation than adding more and more leads, because then they start to phase. So it's very hard then to EQ them all together. So I usually have one lead that is like a color lead. That's what determines how the overall lead sound. Then I have a sol lead that just does the wideness, you know, and then I have something which has a nice body. In this case, we have that Corsten, which has the nice body, the low mid energy, and we have that high phased one, which is that stereo. And then the color is actually coming from that pluck. So I think this is just enough. And when we saturate it correctly, it should sound pretty good. I just went on Splice and I just downloaded a bunch of atmospheres for this lesson. So I haven't heard about much of them, but many of them are actually not from trance. So if you use Splice, try not to restrict yourself in the genre, you know? So don't just go for trance samples. There are amazing samples in ambient music. There are amazing samples in drum and bass music. And there are some really great music in hip-hop. You wouldn't believe how many hip-hop atmospheres are there, you know? And lo-fi sounds. So I would focus on that. There are so many great samples, you know? And especially in atmospheres and stabs and even like percussions, you know, if you want like a nice fill in your track, check out drum and bass ones. You can always like slow it down, you know, and they sound great. I actually use a lot of drum and bass samples in my tracks, especially in progressive trance. Because I like, for example, I love the Reese bass lines, you know, those, and they work really well because the drum and bass people already did a bunch of them, so you don't have to recreate your own. I always create my own stuff. I usually, that's why I have so many banks for Spire and Serum, and now we actually have a new one with Paul here that's coming out on Armada Universities for Spire, because he's a sound designer. And then I use those sounds to create my own tracks, you know, because I want to stand out. I don't want to sound like everybody else. So even if you like have a nice preset bank, try to modify it to your liking, you know. And I would really suggest you to watch our masterclasses on sound design, just so you learn at least the basics. You know, you should do music that you love, you know, because that always reflects on the music that you do. And if you now force yourself to do something because you want to have a release, you might get that release, you know, but you also don't have to. It's good to like educate yourself in other genres. Why not? I can do from anything from house to drum and bass to hip hop, but I focus on trance because that's what I love the most, and that's why I started RRDR and crowd control for the other genres, you know, which are lower BPM, which is very like popular right now. You should go with the wave, but keep yourself in it. And when it comes to labels, it's as you say, you know, a label is basically an A&R guy who listens to your demo, and it's opinion of one guy, you know. And when you're a starting producer and like, imagine this: you're a 7-year-old kid, and you come to college or university, and you say, "I want to learn to be a doctor." You know, so the university will tell you, yeah, but first finish your elementary school, finish your high school, and when you have enough experience, you can start learning to be a doctor. And this with these labels, it's the same. If you send your demo to Armada Music, let's say, they don't know you, okay? They will listen to your demo, but there is this subconscious feeling like, what the fuck is Daniel Sebra? This is an okay track, you know? And they tell you it's an okay track, but it doesn't have that wow thing, you know, or there's something missing. And that something missing is you. It's your own, like a style, what you put to the music. Of course, anybody can make a track like this one, you know, and sound like ReOrder or sound like Darren Porter or sound like Craig Connolly. But the important thing is to find you. So you separate yourself from the crowd. And that's when the labels start to release your music, because they will be like, okay, this is new, this is fresh, we like this. And it's not easy. It takes time, you know, and you make your own sample packs that you like, of favorite samples that you use, and this way you start separating yourself. So try experimenting, but don't experiment too much, so you don't steer too far away from trance music, you know. Like, how do you think hardstyle came to be? There was a guy, his name is Brennan Hart, and he was doing trance with Don Diablo, and then he decided to use a distorted kick in his track. Hardstyle came to be, okay? Then there was Liquid Soul, who said, I don't like this version of, you know, Goa trance. I want to make something with slower BPM that would be more groovy. So he created progressive psytrance, you know? So this is how these things are done. You experiment, but you don't steer too far away. You still have to keep the heart of it, the trance. And dude, yesterday I got a very upsetting email from Anjuna Beats saying some bad stuff about my production, about the track that I did. You know, they said that it sounds very trancey, and that I like used very trancey patches. Those were created on an analog thing that I have here. So there were no patches. I created everything from scratch. But it was just opinion of one guy who just felt that way, you know? Some other people might say, oh my God, this is an amazing track. So don't get discouraged if the labels are not responding to you. Just make next track. And, you know, you can actually earn money on if your track is not released, just release it as a template on some website, you know? And I'm pretty sure there are guys who will buy it because it will inspire them to create their own music, you know? So don't get discouraged, or release it on your own under different name. You know, just try other things. Yeah, for the sub, it's pretty simple. We didn't get to this, but if I unfreeze this, you can see that. So if you have a bass line like this one, when it changes the bass, I'm gonna copy it from here. So right now it's not that obvious because the bass is just like pretty nicely done. But you see that sometimes it's like the loudness is different and the waveform is bigger, smaller. When it's bigger, it means it's like a little bit louder. But loudness and volume are two different things. So to keep them in check, what I usually do, you can actually do this with the glue compressor here in Ableton. So we take the glue compressor like this, and we can have attack whatever you want because it's a sub bass. We can have 30 milliseconds and then very long release to keep it in check. And now have a look. It's all the same all the time. Now the bass we have here, it's just, this was supposed to be over here, I bet. So look at that. It's keeping it in check. So very, 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 even if your attack is down, it's even better. So you can hear like how it goes. I usually use FabFilter Pro L2, which is like much stronger with this, you know. But yeah, this way you make sure that it's actually working well. And now I can just fix this bass line. Very good idea. I love this. Yeah, so this way. And I'm actually doing this with also some other things. For example, on the leads, you can use it. Like, for example, what we didn't do with percussions, you can add a glue compressor on the percussion group with attack 30 and 0 release. You made them a little bit snappier. See, it's like pops up. The transient suddenly is like a little bit sharper. Just have to be careful with it. Nice, 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 nice. So I strongly encourage you, try to go with the approach that I call less is more. Because less is really more, you know? The less clutter you have in your track, the more space is there, and it just has room to breathe, you know? And as I said, just use saturation instead. And you see, like, this sounds pretty good. And all we used all the time was just EQ, some compression, you know, some saturation, and then reverb. Nothing else. Of course, when we get to the mixing phase, we'll probably just go and surgically do everything we can to make this sound great. But you just go easy with the music production. You know, don't do 150 channels. It's not worth it. It's not. It's not like what I do, but how I do. I would formulate the question. When you have a track, and let's say you want to make a 12-minute track, the span of what people can find interesting is about 15 seconds, which is very short. Okay, I think that's like 15 seconds. That would be 8 bars. You know, that's like this much. 14 seconds. So that's about how much attention people have when they listen to the music. So the best thing you can do is to try to incorporate a change every 8 bars. Or in the worst case, at least every 16. And that's what we did here. So this is like a noisy part, then is a quiet part, and then we add this extra lead. And then over here we have some, you know, snares coming up again and stuff like that. Basically what you're doing here is you're trying to make it exciting and entertaining as it goes. That's how I do it. And then the second thing what I do is I imagine myself, I really close my eyes and I listen to the track, you know, when it's like finished, and I'm like, where do I lose attention? Where I'm starting thinking about something else, where it is becoming boring. Especially this is very important in the breakdowns, because sometimes you get a nice, lovely breakdown, but it's way too long. And you see people, if as a DJ, you will see people leaving for a smoking break, and that's devastating. You know, you spend so much time making beautiful breakdown, and they're like, it's been 30 minutes now, you know, and they just leave. So be careful with it. There are some things, for example, in the breakdown, if it's too long, you can add like a low end kick, you know, just like 50 hertz going like just to make them move. But really, try to make a change every 8 or 16 bars. That's the important thing. If it's like a techno track, then that's a completely different thing. Okay, but even in a techno, you can hear that they add elements every 8 or 16 bars, so it's constantly evolving, into something. To some people, it sounds like the same thing all the time, but yeah, it's evolving and things are being added to it. Like I can tell you, for example, yesterday, one of my students called me and said, dude, thank you so much. I just signed my first track to Armada Music. I was so proud, man. It took us almost 2 years, from nothing to get him to Armada, and for me, that's like the warmest feeling because he's not the first one, you know, and I like doing this because I don't teach people bullshit. I just really show you how things are done, because I hate it really when I see that like there were so many tutorials that I watched and it's like most of the time it's like a clickbait, they promise you they will show you something, you watch it and like that's not what I wanted. He's just trying to sell me another plugin, you know and you see over here we didn't use any fancy plugins, so you can do great music without fancy plugins. 3 to 4 hours is a great time to make a track start to finish, so you have like this overall sketch of what you want to do. Now I would probably spend another 3 hours just working on the fluff, making special transitions, adding little bits like small elements to it, something so it like stands out a little bit more, adding variations here and there on the bass lines, random automations so it really stands out, because right now it's really basic. So that would be another 3 hours of just playing around with the details. And then there would be like maybe 1 or 2 hours just trying to mix it all properly so it sounds good, putting a limiter on the master and then started mixing, so it's not messy. So it sounds good. So when you play it on an iPhone, when you play it on your earpods, when you play it on a laptop, when you play it in a club, when you play it in a big hall event, it should always sound the same. And that's perfect, perfect sounding. All right, guys. So thank you so much. As I said, next month, it's going to be a Dune sound design, which I think is going to be very educational. It's going to be done by Paul here. It's a great sound designer. And of course, if you purchase this package with the project will be available as of tomorrow. And the whole course should be available sometime during next week. So you can just get on and rewatch it and then, try incorporate all these things by yourself.